So just like you might have heard about mathematical expressions, in the theory of computation we have another kind of expression, and this is called regular expression. Actually it is very widely used in so many programming languages. You might have seen it, you might have means at HTML, at even shell programming and very different places. This kind of expression of code is there where you use the commands in a very specific way in an order, and that means a different possible things, right? So the usage of regular expressions are so many, but you should just understand it as a mathematical expression kind of thing. But here, just like in mathematics we have different operations, here we have three different operations. We have union, we have concatenation, and we have star, right? So on these three operations we form expressions, and where each of the operands will be some symbols from alphabet, right? So here it's like if I have to write a regular expression, it is 0 union 1 and 0 star. What does it mean? It is saying that this, you have to understand what it is. When I am not writing anything between two things, you should be understanding is as a concatenation is present there, right? So concatenation is already there. You should be able to understand it in that way. Okay. Now, if you have to understand what is the value. So what is the value of mathematical expression? Value of mathematical expression is when you simplify. People used to say, you might used to get the questions of simplify the mathematical equation, right? And you used to get some value out of it by simplifying and really bringing it to a single value as a number value. Here value of a regular expression is actually a regular language, right? So every regular expression actually represents a regular language. Anyway, we're going to prove that part, but if you take any regular expression, it is actually representing a regular language. So for example, what is the regular language that this particular thing is representing? The language of this regular expression, if I take, it is, I can write in set form and you can understand. It is saying that it starts with 0 union 1. What do you mean by union? Or, right? So 0 or 1, it starts with that, followed by any number of zeros, right? So the string is actually something like, if it is starting with 0, and then maybe if you take epsilon from here, so it is just 0, it is just 1. Then if you use 1 0 here, so you will be getting 0 0 and 1 0. If you are using 2 0 from here, it is basically going to give you 0 0 0 1 0 0 and likewise. So any string that starts with a 0 or 1, certainly every string will start with it, but that may shows that you don't have epsilon, because you have certain that at least a 0 or a 1 is present there, right? So therefore epsilon doesn't have a place in the language, but after that it can only follow by only sequence of zeros, so you don't get any more ones. That is another part. So you can get a 1 as the first symbol only, after that you just have zeros, right? So I hope you understood this language. So in any of the languages, right, in any of the whenever you have operators, there is something called precedence of operators, right? So if you take the mathematics, what you say, the power operator is the of the highest precedence, then you have division, you have division and multiplication, and then the last is plus and minus. So this is the order, decreasing order of precedence, right? In the same way, we have a precedence here. The highest one is actually your star. The next one is concatenation, and the least one is union, right? So this you should always remember, that if I am writing an expression, I could have written, if I am writing this as 0 union 1 dot 0 star without brackets, then it means that this one is with this, because first you gonna consider a star on this which is saying 0 star, and 0 star is concatenated with 1. So that is a part of regular expression and you are union with 0. So when you are trying to find a language of this particular regular expression, you will be getting a 0 or 1 followed by any number of zeros. So you have 1, 1 0, 1 0 0 and likewise. Correct. So you can write the language in a very different ways, right? Now, if you are able to understand that, so let me define what is a regular expression. So there is an inductive definition of regular expressions, right? So inductive definition means there is something called base case in the definition. In the base case, there are 3 different cases: case 1, case 2, case 3. There are 3 different smallest unit of regular expressions. The first one is A, that represents for some A part of sigma. So if there is an input symbol, right, some symbol in alphabet, so the symbol itself represents the regular expression. So if A is the smallest unit of a regular expression, what is the language of A? If this is a regular expression, so language of A is representing just a single string, that symbol. Next one is epsilon. I think epsilon is very trivial, right? So let me write epsilon like this, because I think there has been a confusion between this as epsilon and belong, right? So I should be keep using this as epsilon. If I am not using, please just understand that this should be used as epsilon. That will reduce the confusion between something belong to this, because we are in set theory, right? So epsilon, and what is the language of epsilon? It is just a set where epsilon is present. Third one is phi. What is the language of phi? Language of phi is an empty language. So these are 3 smallest unit of any regular expression, right? When you are defining, so we are defining, building a regular expression. So it says that a single symbol can be a regular expression, epsilon is also a regular expression, phi is also a regular expression, and these are the languages represented by these regular expressions. I hope it is clear. And in that case, when you go to the next as inductive step, so in induction always we say that we already know that some regular expressions up to n minus 1 or those many operations. So let's say that there is already 2 regular expressions R1 and R2 is given to you, right, and which are known to be regular expressions. So in that case, the inductive expression says that if you do as operation R1 union R2, the resultant is again a regular expression. Similarly, if you do a concatenation between these 2 regular expressions R1 and R2, you're gonna get again a regular expression. And the third one says that if you use some regular expression and take a star of it, that is again a regular expression. So if you perform these operations on regular expressions, you get again a regular expression, right? And how it really grows in the induction, so you can understand it from that. If LR1 is denoting the language of R1, LR2 is denoting the language of R2, so the language of R1 union R2 is actually L of R1 union L of R2, right? This is how it is defined, that when you do the union, the languages become union. Similarly, when you do a concatenation of 2 regular languages, the language also becomes concatenated. So if you take 2 formal languages and you concatenate, it is represented by, if you have concatenated, its regular expression. And the third one, L of R1 star, is actually L of R1 taking a star of it. So I hope it is clear to you. So let us just take few examples of regular expressions and try to understand what language it represents, right? So is it clear? These are the base cases, and these are if you take two regular expressions and do the union. So this is how its languages gets clubbed together, right? So now you're gonna tell me what does this regular expression represents. Okay. What is the language represented by? If I am writing that language of this regular expression, so it will be W. I am assuming that the sigma is 0, 1. So W such that W contains what? Good, Shashwat. Correct. So W contains single one, right? You cannot, and exactly one, right? W contains exactly one. Now, okay, good. What about this? What does it represent? Good. So W contains at least one. Now, why it is at least 1 and exactly 1 because when you say 0 star, that can never give you any more ones. But when you are saying sigma star, so this sigma star itself can you give any possible string. So it is something similar to that. 1 is a substring. You have at least 1, right? So 1 is a substring of this. So when you are ensuring that, that means at least 1 is present. There may be few more ones before it, few more ones after it, or any number of zeros, it doesn't matter. Okay, good. Now tell me this. So I am not gonna write the whole thing. Now it is up to you to just speak. Okay, what is it? I think it is trivial. This is just that's what is it? What about others? Are others sleeping? Only few people are responding. At least you should type in. It doesn't matter whether you are first or last. That shows that you are actually active in the class, right? So yeah, so you don't need to write at least this in the string. Yeah, I think writing this 001 as a substring is something sufficient. So anyway, both represent the same thing. Okay, let's do another one. What is it? What does it represent? Right. So see, always you have to see that what epsilon represents. What epsilon represents? It represents 0, 1, and there is a concatenation here. So you are concatenating these two. So what you are getting? You are getting a 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. And when you take a star of it, what you gonna get? When you take a star of this set, what you gonna get? I think many of you already understood it. So Okay, let's take something more interesting and a bit difficult. So 0, yeah, tell me, what does it represents? So how many of you thought it as a palindrome or something? No, right? Anyone with palindrome as the answer? Good. So I think many of you already understood it is starts with 0 and starts and ends with the same symbol. This says starts and ends, right? This says starts and ends with the same symbol. 0 starts and ends with 1, and these are the cases where you have just single symbol, right? So it cannot be palindrome because it doesn't talk about what is the relationship between the second and second last. It can be anything. So that's why it is not a palindrome. Okay. I think you got a pretty much decent idea about the regular expressions and corresponding regular languages. So whenever I write a regular expression, you should be able to understand what regular language it is representing. Now, if I say, let's say 0 union epsilon, 1 union epsilon. So if you take the language of this thing, it is going to give you epsilon 0, 1, 0, 1. Why? I think basic multiplication, right? 0 with a 1, you get 0, 1, and the order is important, right? It cannot be 1, 0 written here. It is not a AB and BA kind of thing. AB and BA are two different strings. So 0 with a 1 is 0, 1, 0 with epsilon is 0, epsilon with a 1 is 1, and epsilon with the epsilon is epsilon. So what we understand here is that epsilon, so few basic things that we need to keep note of is that epsilon with a regular expression, whether you use it like this or you use any number of epsilons or r with epsilon, if you take the language of this, it gives you as language of R itself. Therefore, whenever epsilon times anything is given, you can replace it with just that regular language. That is rule number 1, you should always remember. Rule number 2, 1 star phi. Now when you try to find the language of this, what are you going to get? Any guesses? Any guesses? What will be the language? Good. Anything? Correct. So one answer is at least correct. 1 star phi, right? The language is phi, i.e. it is empty. Why it is empty? I think it is very clear, because when you do 1 star, that is the language, and then you take a empty, so you are concatenating empty with this set. When you don't have anything to concatenate with it, the whatever 1-to-1 multiplication you will take, that will be all unknown, empty, and therefore you will not get any string in this. It is not epsilon. You have to understand, this phi is not epsilon. Phi is actually null. When you multiply anything with a null, you get null, and therefore everything becomes empty. So that is the rule number 2. What it says, whenever phi is being multiplied, concatenated, not multiplied, sorry, concatenated with any regular expression, the end is phi. You can always use this reduction, right? It is a simplification. Rule number 3 you should always remember again, which is again something most important, is phi asterisk. What do you think? Phi is a regular language, right? It is one of the smallest one. So if I take asterisk, what you will get? Good. The answer is epsilon. Now the question comes, how? Because you are doing, when you do phi asterisk, what you are actually getting? Phi asterisk is actually phi to the power 0 union phi to the power 1 union phi to the power 2 and blah blah blah. All these, if you say this is phi concatenated with something, so it becomes phi, and union of phi's will still be phi. But this one, phi to the power 0, it's something very similar. It's a kind of identity rule that whenever, whatever the language, when you do not, you are not concatenating it with anything. This phi, any language to the power 0 is actually, as an identity, it becomes epsilon. So that's why epsilon union with phi, what you get? You get epsilon, right? Is it clear? So these are the 3 things. Always remember that phi asterisk is epsilon. Okay, it's not clear. See, just like we have something, it is not a right justification, but you have to understand that, for example, any number to the power 0, we always take 1, right? Any number to the power 0, we always take 1. Similarly, here we have a rule that whatever the language, you are not using the language to form empty string. That is the interesting part. So whenever you say that a language to the power 0, you are not caring about whatever is the language. It is always epsilon, the empty string. So you did not care about whether there is any symbol or any string in the language. By default it becomes epsilon, and that's why you have epsilon, right? If you remember sigma star, how epsilon was coming there? It is saying that it's an empty string. So empty string doesn't need any symbol or anything. It is present when you are talking about all strings of length anything. So this is a string of length 0. So when you say phi, it is not present there. But when you say phi star, then because of phi to the power 0, it makes it way in the language. So always remember these 3 things, right? Okay. Now, so we understood something, that there is something called regular expressions that can also represent, because when we talk about the value of regular expressions, we get regular languages. But we already understood that there is something called a DFA, NFA and ENFA. and each of them were actually representing this set of languages described by a DFA or NFA or this, all were pointing towards regular languages, right? Now you said that there is something called regular expressions and they also point towards regular languages, but does it really capture all regular languages? Or there are some regular languages for which we don't have regular expressions. One direction we already said, right? For whenever you write a regular expression, the value of it is a language. Which is the regular language? Okay, we haven't proved it. We said that it is, but we haven't proved it. Right, so we have to prove that part also, that language of every regular expression is a regular language. We have made this statement, but we haven't proved it. Next is, so language of every regular expression means the value. And the other part is, does there exist any regular language for which we don't have regular expression? For that, if you have to prove, then you have to prove that for every regular language you can write a regular expression. It's the bidirectional, you have to prove it, right? If you want to prove that, again the languages represented by these regular expressions are same as whatever is here. We have already established the equivalence between these things, right? And because of the equivalence, these all are equivalent to each other in terms of power of expressing the languages. They all express the same set of languages. Now I want to check, okay, there is a new, not exactly computational model, but a different mathematical way of writing something has come up, and it is also claiming to define a language. So let's test its power. And in that case, the answer is yes, there is an equivalence. And to prove that, what we need to prove that whenever you have a regular language, I can construct a ENFA for it. We're going to prove this. Whenever you have a regular expression, I will be able to construct an ENFA for it, and whatever the language this ENFA was representing, the regular language, the same language is the value of this regular expression. This will prove one direction, and the second direction is whenever you have a DFA, that means there is a regular language for which you have a DFA, you can convert this DFA into a regular expression. Now, this is just two parts, but you know that what? Every ENFA also has a DFA, and that completes the whole thing. So, every regular expression has an equivalent DFA, and every DFA has an equivalent regular expression, which will satisfy that, okay, whatever the DFA was representing, the regular expression represents the same, whatever regular expression is representing, DFA is representing the same, and therefore, for every DFA there is a regular expression, and for every regular expression there is a DFA. Therefore, this regular expression, set of all regular expressions, are also representing the same class of languages which are regular languages. Right. So, we have to prove in two directions. So, let us start the first direction, where we claim that whenever you have a regular expression, you can construct a ENFA for it. And you know, the answer is very simple. I think this is one of the most trivial thing to do, because as per the definition of regular expressions, what we understood, if you talk about the base case, what we understood, the base case was that a regular expression is a symbol or epsilon or phi, these three. What language it was representing? The language was language of A is just A, language of epsilon is epsilon, and language of phi is empty. Right. Now, just exactly same way how we defined regular expressions, we are going to define how you can construct an ENFA for these regular expressions. So, for the base case, let us see the ENFA. So ENFA for a given symbol, it's something very simple, right? For a symbol, if you have to design ENFA, it is this, right? This A belongs to sigma. What is the language of this ENFA? If you take this machine, the language of this machine is same. Yes or no? It is just A. So, language of this machine, I should not be writing A part of A in sigma, because then it will mean all the symbols are present. So, the language of A is, for this particular diagram, it is just A. Right. Now, if I have to define it for this sigma, I can design again a machine for it. Right. A machine which is representing the same language. What it will look like? You can either design it like this, or you could have just designed like this. Both are representing that the language of this machine, should write machine is just epsilon. What about the phi? For this again I can design an ENFA, right? I am habitual of writing the epsilon that way somehow, but now I realize that there is a confusion. Okay, so done. That's all. You can write it this way, or you can create another state just for the completeness of one state as the final state. Even this was sufficient, that my final states are 5. So here the language of M is blank. So are you clear with this? For these 3 base cases of the regular expressions, we have 3 ENFAs present. It's something very trivial, right? Now, if we ask about the inductive step, so let us go to the inductive step. What was in the inductive step for the regular expressions? How we defined? We said that case A, whenever you have a regular expression R1 with R2, right, you do the union. So let's talk about the union part. So R1 is a regular expression and R2 is a regular expression, and when you do the union, the language of R1 union R2 is L of R1 union L of R2. So because we are proving it by induction, so we said that okay, for the base case that you have created, we have already shown that you have machines. Let us say that for some n-1 operations it is following, and those n-1 operations might be distributed between 2 smaller regular languages R1 and R2. So I am going to prove that if you add any extra operation on top of it, still it will hold. And in what all possible way you can add an operation? 3. A union, concatenation and a star. So for union, when you said that R1 and R2 are 2 smaller regular expressions, right? Less than n-1 operations. Therefore, as per the assumption, there exists a machine for R1 and R2, equivalent ENFA. So for R1, let's say that this is the machine, and for R2, this is the machine. Again, because it's a ENFA, so you have a start state here, you have a start state here, right? You might have a couple of final states here and a couple of final states here. Now, here when you do the union of regular expressions, you get the language as union. Here again, this machine is representing L of R1 because it's equivalent ENFA, and here it is equivalent ENFA for R2. I think you know that how to union 2 machines, right? To combine their languages in union way. You have already done it using the closure property during the study of closure property. You just have to create a new start state and connect it with this with the epsilon move and with this with the epsilon move. Done. This bigger machine that you have created, what is the language of this bigger machine? The language of this bigger machine M will be LR1 union LR2. And this language is actually the language of R1 union R2. So you got a machine for R1 union R2 if you had a machine for R1 and R2, equivalent machines. So that's what I am saying, that if I had equivalent machines for R1 and R2, I can get an equivalent machine for R1 union R2. Similar way, you can do it for R1 concatenation R2, right? How you can do that? Oh, it looks like R1 R10. Okay, R1 concatenation with R2. Again, you can take the two machines R1 and R2 and you can combine those machines such that the language represented by that new machine of LM will be L of R1 concatenation L of R2. Can we do that? Can we combine two machines that are equivalent to R1 and R2 in a way that the language is actually becomes a concatenation of both? Can we design such a machine? The answer is yes. You have also learnt it during the same closure property of concatenation, that what you need to do, all the final states of the first machine will become non-final and all of them will keep pointing to the start state of the second machine with epsilon. So we can do that. So whenever two regular expressions, smaller regular expressions and their equivalent ENFAs are given, you can further build a bigger regular expression based on that. And in the same way you can build a bigger machine which will be equivalent to the bigger regular expression. That's what I am saying. For the third operation, again the same thing follows. Right? I am not writing it here how you do, because you have already learned how to combine two machines for the concatenation of the language. So therefore I am leaving it again at this point. You should go back and revise it and then fill it up. Now for R1 star, what you need to do? Very similar to what you did. R1 is saying that I have a machine for R1. Now I want to design a machine for R1 star. What I need to do? I think we have again done it. You just have to add this, you have to add a start state here which you make as a final state and bring all the epsilon arrows here. Done. Right. So this proves that whenever we have a smaller regular expression and we are adding one more operation, still if we had equivalent ENFA, we get an equivalent ENFA even for the bigger regular expression. And that's what helps us prove that by induction, that whenever you have a regular expression, because regular expressions are constructed in inductive way, you will always be able to construct an equivalent ENFA in inductive way, and that proves that the language that represented by regular expressions are regular languages. Right? Every language represented by regular expressions are a regular language. Why? Because for every regular expression, whatever the language you are representing, I have an equivalent ENFA. And whenever you have a finite state machine, this ENFA for any language, you say that that language is regular. So every language represented by regular expressions are proven to be regular languages. The next point is to prove whether is it a onto relationship. Means, does there exist any regular language for which we don't have any regular expression, or no, it's not. Right. Before going to that, let's do a very quick example to say prove how we're going to do that. So let us take a simple example here. Let's say AB union A star. You want to design an ENFA for it. I think it's very simple. Right? What do you have to? You have to start with the basic symbols. What is this? Is actually what? This is written in a shorthand form. It is actually written as A concatenation with B union with A and whole star. Concatenation was missing, right? Now, to do it, always start with the smallest units. Do we have any epsilon? No. Do we have phi here? No. We have the smallest unit of the regular expressions as symbols. So, Good. So, okay, I think if I have to redesign it for A, this is the A part, right, and this was supposed to be a final state, but because I am doing concatenation of A with B, because what is my target language? It is A, B union A star. So, I take A, I finalize the final state of A, and then I add with epsilon to the start state of my B. What is the language of this thing? It is A union B. If you understand, this is the part of the machine for A, this is the part of the machine for B, and I have concatenated these two machines. I have actually made this state as non-final. So, this is a, oh, I should not be using arrow, otherwise, okay. So, this is a non-final state. I have made it like that, and then what I have to do? I have to do union of this whole thing union with A. So, you have to put in place, let me just remove this part. So, another A part here, and then you have to create a new start state and connect this one with epsilon and with epsilon. Done. So, this is how, this is one of the very simplest example for constructing an ENFA, but this is how you do. Oh, sorry, yeah, correct. This is not the whole thing. There is a star also. So, what you needed to do for the star? The answer is, if you want to do that, if you want to do that, further you have to add a start state here as a final state. In this case, you could have made this also as a final, but it's always a good option always to create a new one and then take epsilon move from each of the final states. I think it's complete now, right? Good. So, I think you understand it's pretty much easy given a regular expression. I think given in exam or anywhere, you should be able to understand, you can always construct. Correct, Dhruv. There are identities and rules for regular expressions. We will come to that if time allows. So, yes, it is like that. That if you multiply anything with 0, it becomes actually 0, right? So, phi is like that. If you multiplication and concatenation, if you even see in terms of the precedence, they fall at the same place, right? And epsilon is like a multiplicative identity where you multiply, so you get the same thing. Oh, we don't have intersection as an operation of regular expressions, Harsh. Right. So, here, as you know, regular expressions are only defined based on 3 operations: union, concatenation and star. So, whenever you are defining a regular expression, you just gonna use these 3 operations. Yes, there is something, one more extra thing that I haven't defined it there. So, there is something called plus operator. Now, this plus operator is present in 2 different forms in different books. One is as a unary operator, another one as a binary operator. It has both presence. When it is present as a unary, it is used at place of a star, right? It is at that place where star is used. When it is used as a binary, it is basically between 2 regular expressions. So, this is 2 ways where plus is used in different places. This R1 plus means that it is epsilon is deleted from R1 star. So, R1 plus, if I have to define, it is actually denoting the language of R1 plus is language of R1 star you take and you minus epsilon from it. and if you are talking about plus here, so this plus is same as union. So always remember, when plus is used as a binary operator, it is just meaning that it is a union, right? So many of the programming languages you might have seen on when you are giving command, when you write something plus something, so it says this or this or this, at least one of it is fulfilled, so it is going to do that. So it's used as a or in different systems. If you have used it, you will realize that. Otherwise, as a plus on top of it at several other places, if it is as a power, it is present in the power, then it says that epsilon is deleted from the star. All strings of length at least 1 built based on R1 concatenations. So R0 is R1 to the power 0 is not considered in the union. Correct. So at least one time it should be present. And given 2 NFs, how to construct another intersection? That's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I think it was one of the assignments also. You might have realized, and I am still finding the answer. I haven't. Last time of running of the course, I placed 10 marks as a bonus point to find it. It's a very complicated thing to do. I read it somewhere. If any of you find, but yes, the simplest way is convert the NFAs or ENFs into DFN, then use the product automaton. I think that is what they call complicated, or if can you do without doing that, I will be very happy to see that answer.